Aloha Hawaii, this is Pokalai Nui, and you are listening to Hawaiian Potpourri. It is 37 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Saturday, the 18th day of August, in the year 2010. We are produced by the Hawaiian National Broadcast Corporation. All right, we were talking about the idea of offensive defense as opposed to defensive defense. You also have on the other side offensive offense, which is self-explanatory. Their defensive strategy or the national security strategy is simply to be offensive. And you can see how, let's take Hitler and his movement out and taking over countries. Some would say that the United States itself is actually practicing offensive offense rather than offensive defense. And the reason for it is not because they are intending to protect the heartland or the homeland, but the policy, the national security policy, is to simply move out and take more and more territories as part of the American empire. And I must say that there is some reason for believing that, a lot of reason for believing that, if you really look at the pattern of the United States, starting back in maybe 120 or 130 years ago, about 1893, when they expanded beyond the coastlines of the American continent and went into Cuba, came into Hawaii, went into the Philippines, and started even greater expansion. And it was certainly not for defensive purposes, but it was very, very offensive. I am suggesting that the views that they are taking with regards to Iran is exactly the same. It is not a defensive move. It is for offensive activities, attempt to take over Iran and try to succeed with Iran where they failed with Iraq because they are not able to set up their type of government, and they are failing with Afghanistan. On the other hand, the Israelis are essentially troublemakers. And I remember when I was in high school, at YNI High School, you would have these troublemakers who were essentially the punks, what we would call punks. And they would create this argument between two individuals or two groups. And as the people are trying to resolve that argument and they are heated and they are in this argument with one another, then you would have this punk who would go up in back of the person that he's supporting or pretending to support and push this person into the other person, and hopefully to create a fight between these two parties in that way. And that's exactly what Israel is trying to do. And because Barack Obama is being more resistant than is satisfactory to the Israeli leadership at the present time, they are saying, well, what we may do is push you by ourselves getting involved in our attack of Iran and depend on you to come to our defense to save us. And at that time, you will have to face the the lobbying group, the Israeli lobbying group in the United States. And with all the powers that they have essentially bought out the Congress, that the President of the United States would have a very, very difficult time resisting this push into Iran and getting into that fight with Iran. What it really will call for at that point in time is normally what we call intestinal fortitude, or in the more pedestrian language that we have, you would have to have enough guts or other parts of one's anatomy to resist that kind of being pushed around. And let's just hope that Barack Obama has that intestinal fortitude to resist it. And I'm very concerned about it, because I have not seen that steadfastness against being caught up in wars or being pushed around into the continuing war in Afghanistan and the saber rattling that is going on, and how Barack Obama is permitting his Secretary of State to make the kinds of statements and public relations points with regards to Iran and with regards to Syria, which is the next topic for a quick and fast review of what is happening with regards to Syria. But before leaving Iran, I would ask you to take the time, if you have the opportunity, read up on the history of the United States and Iran and the U.S. attempts to overthrow the government, the success in overthrowing the government, bringing in new leadership, and over a period of time, all of it turning essentially against the Americans. It's also part of that same process in which it tried to set up the Iraqis to fight against the Iranians, and playing that religious differences between the two, one against the other, not being loyal to either one. And one previously was Saddam Hussein, giving Saddam Hussein weapons of mass destruction to fight against Iran. And then after the war is over, and this is chemical warfare, the Americans then claim that Saddam Hussein possesses weapons of mass destruction, chemical warfare, which they had given to that government, and used that as an excuse for attacking that government. It's crazy. It's there's something wrong with the way the politics are being run. We have 2 telephone calls, and I'll take the calls before going into my analysis of what's happening in Syria. Aloha, caller. Welcome to the program.
I was just looking at the one with Iraq, one about the chemicals and mass destruction weapons.
Yes.
Thing is, like, the media was saying that he didn't have them to make the previous administration look bad, and finally they released that the British are destroying the chemical weapons.
Who was destroying the chemical weapons?
The British. They're helping the Iraqis destroy chemical weapons in Iraq.
What year?
Currently right now they're doing it.
No, that's not true, and I don't know where your
so
source
everything's
is.
a lie then.
It is a lie to suggest that.
So they don't have no chemical weapons whatsoever?
The Iraqis do not have chemical weapons, and
Okay,
when they
so
were
they-
attacked by the United States finally went in and tried to investigate for themselves and found that there was no chemical weapons, and that's what the U.S. troops themselves have said over and over and over again. So the idea now to suggest that the British participated in the destruction of chemical weapons is simply not true. Where do you get your source from?
For the media?
What media?
ABC, CBS, NBC, they're all saying it.
No, I think it's probably Fox News that you're getting it
Fox
from. And
News,
even
well,
then,
whatever, so the-
even then, it was reported that it was untrue. And all of the reports, whether it comes out of the United Nations report or when the United States went in, they found absolutely no chemical weapons at that time.
They should get a new president, because that one is insulting, because calling Israel an insult to humanity is not going to bring any peace.
And so, as a result of his statements, the United States should change that regime?
Well, the thing is, if you keep an eye on that guy, because that guy is looking to start some trouble. You're calling Israel a troublemaker, but most of the trouble looks like he's trying to start it.
Well, let's take a look at what the accusations are. Is it not true that it is the Israelis who are suggesting that they will attack Iran and not the Iranians saying that they will attack Israel?
Well, the thing is, what I'm looking at is
But
that
you're not answering the
somebody
question.
cannot go to a pizzeria in Israel without fear getting blown up by somebody.
Wait, what are you saying?
Like they're blowing up bus stations, they're blowing up, everything
Iranians?
inside the country. So
The
they're
Iranians?
tracing.
Oh, yeah. I'm asking you a question, so I'd like a response. The Iranians are blowing it up, or is it some other Islamic organization?
I gotta apologize, because actually this hold on. Okay, I'm gonna have to apologize. Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, hey.
Hello.
Sorry. I'm going to see if the other guy gets a better connection than I do.
All right. Okay.
All right,
Thank
bye.
you. All right. Our telephone number here is 524-1080. We go to our next call. If you would like to call, give us a call. We'll put you on the radio. Aloha, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, Polka.
Yes. Good afternoon.
So nice to be able to have a discourse where we can respond to individuals such as the previous caller and then extend the conversation by factual information ourselves. I do appreciate that the individual who spoke previously on the previous call may be operating from thinking about ideas that are presented by extreme right-wing individuals like Rush Limbaugh. I try to look at Fox News and listen to Rush Limbaugh as well as CNN and MSNBC. And the only source that I have noted that continues to promote the totally inaccurate perspective that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction or chemical weapons is Rush Limbaugh, whose livelihood depends upon him continuing to perpetuate lies. So I want to extend to the brother that I just called a word of appreciation of his enthusiasm to think about world dynamics from a political perspective, but also invite him to recognize that the propaganda that is grounded in lies reinforces imperialism by the United States. So I appreciate him calling and inviting him to consider the facts.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other points?
Yeah, I have never heard a radio or television host articulate as clearly points that I have wondered about repeatedly, and that is what gives the United States or Israel the right to try to contain any other nation from developing nuclear weapons on the same premises that the United States asserts, which is to operate from a defensive perspective to maintain peace. In other words, why should the United States and Israel be allowed to not only manufacture nuclear weapons as separate nations, but as you artfully said, to be able to proliferate and extend nuclear weaponry to allied nations? And that seems to be an important consideration. The second point I would make is that I try to look at things from a psychological perspective to understand how people operate they do. And one of the most unfortunate situations that breaks my heart is that the United States entered into a war with Iraq that was unlawful according to the Geneva Conference and illegal and immoral. And the number of families that had sons and daughters that were killed in a war that was grounded in absolute lies. First, it was asserted that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. As you said, United Nations reports from the field armed forces indicated there was no substantiation. We did not find any weapons of mass destruction, no chemical weapons. All of the assertions that were made by Colin Powell were found to be straight-out lies. And it's so disheartening to know that not only do families support troops to go into battle, but to lose their sons and daughters based upon corporate interests and out-and-out lies. And I can only assess that as a father of 2 grown children and 1 young daughter, perhaps I would have to rationalize that what we're doing is right, and it certainly is based upon lies. You know, there are 3 groups of people in our society. One group is a small number of people that make things happen for justice and peace. There's another larger group that watches what is happening. And unfortunately, there is a relatively large group of people in our society who wonders what happened. And my hope is that we can mobilize people in Hawaii who share common values to make things happen to address the sort of imperialism that continues. And those are my comments for you.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. Take care. Aloha. And if you would like to call, our telephone number is 524-1080. There was quite a bit of substance from that last caller, and what I'll do is just make some quick comments with regards to his response or his call, and then we do have another caller within the next 7 minutes. Let's see if we can do all of that. The general handle that we use, or formula that we use, is that one call is really representative of 1,000 listeners. And I want to thank the first caller for being willing to discuss openly his deeper feelings about what the facts are, although I consider his facts to be absolutely wrong. Okay. And it has been shown over and over and over again that the idea that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction has been continually proven or disproven. And yet, he continues to hold on to that position. It's important that he at least is willing to expose himself publicly with this mindset, because it does represent a group of people in Hawaii who share that mindset. And finally, I should say with regards to that first caller, that, we are all entitled to our own opinions, and that's true. However, we are not entitled to make up our own facts. And so when opinions differ, you try to resolve that difference by at least looking at the facts and see if there are factual basis to support one or the other. In this particular case, as far as we have seen, there has been no factual basis to support the opinion that Iraq was wrong in that it had possessed weapons of mass destruction. The other point, and this raised by the second caller, is with regards to the idea of nuclear weapons and how, and I cannot get my head around it, but how the United States and now even Israel can promote themselves as being such hypocrites to suggest that no other country has the right to arm themselves to be defensive with nuclear weapons, when the United States is primarily the organization that has been most responsible for the proliferation of nuclear weapons and other war armaments. There has been an international treaty which the United States stepped out of and which Israel has not joined, and that is the non-nuclear proliferation treaty, the agreement that they would not create nuclear weapons or expand nuclear weapons and the rest. And yet the United States and Israel tries to hold these other countries to those standards while they themselves have not even signed on to that treaty. Now, there was other concerns with regards to family supporting troops, although knowing that the war is inappropriate and the rest. I won't go into that right now, and let's see if I can get the next caller on the line. Hello, caller. Hello, caller. You have just a few minutes on this line. Go ahead.
Yes, Pogo.
Yes.
Yeah. The imperialism that continues by the United States now is really being cheered on so much by people like people in the broadcast media and public officials like to make expressions of support, we're behind you, etc. Kinds of of remarks. And of course, when you do things like take the young men, the UH football team to
yeah, I read that,
to a memorial, and then to promote the idea that these men died for you. And this, that's these guys. Later on, I know some of these guys are going to wise up over time. Maybe some of them already have, but they don't. Maybe it wasn't their place to speak up. But some of these guys are bound to wise up and smell a coffee, read the writing on the wall, and they're going to look back and say, "Wow." They're going to feel like they were conned.
Yeah, they actually went along with it. Yeah, just because coach wanted to say that, and I want to get playing time.
Yeah. Right. Although I wish one time they would take these guys downtown and take them to Haleali'i Iolani and go talk about that raid that happened, because it seems
the first sneak attack.
Yeah. How about that sneak attack? It's always these guys are always chaperoned over there to that place at Pu'uloa, which, by the way, that place was just a breadbasket there before. So rich in the different foods you could find from the ocean. But of course, since who went in there, that's it. The place now would be, I guess, a so-called Superfund site.
It is. It's one of the worst. The worst is over at Lualualei. The worst Superfund site.
Yeah. Right. And see, and that's the thing too. When they take these guys over there, they just tell them about that part, right? They don't tell them, and by the way, the heroes of ours also have turned this into a Superfund site. So,
don't go in the water.
Yeah,
you know all that nice-looking water. Don't jump in the water.
Yeah. I wish they would bring that up too. Yeah.
Okay. I have music in the background.
Okay,
I gotta run. Thank you for your call.
Okay.
Kaulana na pua o Hawaii, Kupa ama hope o ka aina, Iki mai ka elele o ka loko ino, Pala anunu me ka paka. Pane mai Hawaii moku o ke ave, Koku ana honoa o Pi'ilani, Ka ko'o mai kaua I o mano, Pa'apu me ke oni o ka kuhi hewa. Aolea e kau I ka pulima, Maluna o ka pepa o ka enemi, Po'ohui ai nā ku ai hewa, I ka pono sibila a o ke kanaka. Aole makoa e mina I ka pu'u ka